Is there a right time to trade Chris Tanev, and what do we make of Yegor Sharangovich's season to date? Hey everyone, welcome into Burning Questions. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Postmedia Calgary Flames writers Wes Gilbertson and Danny Austin. And guys, when you've got some players that could be potential trade pieces, it's always tough to figure out if you move them earlier to avoid them getting injured, or do you hang on to them in the hopes of extracting more value? And right now the Flames seem to be in that pickle with Chris Tanev, who is one of the most sought-after players in the league. He's banged up right now and does have a checkered injury history. Wes, does Tanev's injury that he's currently dealing with right now force the Flames to potentially trade him sooner rather than later?
I don't know that it necessarily forces them to trade him sooner than later, but it certainly shines a spotlight on the risk that you're taking by hanging on to your best trade chips. And Chris Tanev is one of them until closer to deadline day. I believe still that that's when you maximize the value, especially, with so many teams being cap strapped. I think when you get the best return for a player like Chris Tanev that could help so many contenders as close to the deadline. But there's a risk of injury. This guy sacrifices his body more than the average player. This guy, puts himself in harm's way a lot. And the one thing I will say is that Chris Tanev's latest injury, and all we know is he's day-to-day with an upper body injury, is sort of the kind of play that could happen to anybody. This wasn't blocking a puck with his chin like he did a couple weeks ago. He got blindsided into the boards. I think any player, their injury history or not, has a potential to get injured on that play. Now, puts Craig Conroy in a tough spot, but I've been saying for a while, and I still believe this, I do think it's worth the risk to maximize his trade value, and I think the Flames will ultimately see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Tanev is the type of player that teams are going to be interested in acquiring, assuming that, he hasn't had his leg chewed off by a polar bear type of thing. He plays through pain, he plays through injuries. We've seen it again and again and again. But, I fall probably a little bit more towards if there's a good deal out there, you might want to look at it seriously, because he does have an injury history, and I don't think that you want to necessarily lose him for nothing. I mean, there have been reports that the Flames are interested in re-signing him long term, and you can 100% see why. This guy's such a warrior on the ice. And I'm serious. I mean, for people who haven't watched the Calgary Flames closely, which I don't know how many of you are watching this video, but this is exactly the type of player who any team wants. He battles on the ice. He can do everything you want on the defensive end, and does maybe have a little bit more offensive upside than people give him credit for. So, it's a risk. And I do think that really, if a team came in and blew the Flames out of the water with a good offer, I'm sure they would have to look at it. And as we know, sometimes teams don't want to wait right for the deadline, and they want to get ahead and start building. So it's possible that we'll see it, in January. But I certainly wouldn't expect to see it anytime before that.
Yeah, especially with the holidays coming up and the potential trade freeze out there. Meanwhile, Yegor Sharangovich leads the Flames with 9 goals after a pair against Vegas on Tuesday. Danny, what stands out to you about his game so far this year, now that you get to see him on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, I will say that the player that I saw at the beginning of training camp is not the player that I think we're seeing today. And I think that we've seen steady improvement and confidence growing. He does have an absolutely dirty shot. It's ridiculous when he has the puck on his stick. We talked so much about Matthew Coronado, and this is not steak and knock on him, but Yegor is right there with them. And that's the thing. I mean, the Flames took a bit of, I don't know if they took a risk, but they wanted to take a look at a player who saw his numbers regress a little bit in New Jersey last year after a really impressive 2021-22 season. And, they thought that there was more there, and I think that we're seeing that there is more there. And when they traded Tyler Toffoli for him, they were very clear, this is not the same player. We're not getting him back. But, Yegor's Sharky, whatever you want to call him, Sharon. There's a million different names out there, but I really like the way he's been playing. I think that he's adding some real offensive upside and a skill set that the Flames just don't have elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm not nearly as hip as Danny. I believe a dirty shot is a compliment, and I would echo that. I mean, this guy can really fire the puck. He's not. If you go look, and I think what's so encouraging about his 9 goals so far, which puts him on pace for 25. If you go watch them, this isn't a bunch of pucks bouncing off his shin pads. This isn't, the guy kind of jamming away at the edge of the net until the puck finally goes in. This guy has good hands. He has a great shot, and we've seen that pay off. And I think what's so encouraging for the Flames is he fits what you're looking for long term. He's 25 years old. He's in his fourth NHL season. He still has upside. The Flames didn't trade Tyler Toffoli away because they thought he couldn't score anymore. They traded him away because they were hesitant to do a long or even midterm deal with another guy in his 30s. And so, they got younger, they got faster, they got cheaper, and it hasn't been that much of a drop off offensively. And that's great news because Tyler Toffoli is still scoring in New Jersey like everyone thought he would. Well, Yegor Sharangovich has been able to be a little bit more of a surprise here in Calgary. And for a team that needs to score by committee, it's been a big story for the Flames.
It's been a nice pickup so far and a very shrewd move by Craig Conroy. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below or email us at calgaryflames@postmedia.com. For Wes Gilbertson and Danny Austin, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on another Burning Questions.